Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our 3-day Metals and Mining Conference. Our next presentation of the day is from RUA Gold. Please note you may submit questions to the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for a one-on-one meeting by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Robert Eckford, Chief Executive Officer of RUA Gold, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol NZAUF and on the TSXV under the symbol RUA. Welcome back, Robert.
It's great to be back here, Greg. Thanks for having me. I'll jump straight into it, and thanks everyone for your attention today. We're at a really exciting time at RUA Gold. We're in this precipice of a gold market, and I've seen the number of gold companies presenting today, so I'm not going to harp on the macros of where gold's at $4,000 now. But what I will say in this type of market, when it gets very frothy, is when you want to invest in a gold mining company, you want to actually see a company that's going to become a gold mine. And this is where RUA Gold is the differentiator right now. We're in one of the best jurisdictions in the world, in New Zealand. They have favorable permitting laws that have only been introduced in 2023, and it's now a big gold rush coming to New Zealand. There's 4 or 5 new ASX explorers that have come in there in the last 6 months. We started RUA Gold back in 2019. We had first mover advantage, and so we've got the best land down there. And we've got this permitting regime where we can get a mine permitted now in 6 months. It's unreal. It's the best in the world, and no one really knows about it, which is where RUA Gold, and another thing that investors should look for, is a laggard in the stock market. We've raised money back in June at 70 cents. We raised 14 million Canadian dollars. We've been trading between 70 cents and $1 ever since then, and the gold price has gone up 40%. So that's the very high level macro view right now. We're really well placed in a great jurisdiction. We have amazing land packages, and we have a team that's done it before. But I'll dive into a few of the details, and I see some questions coming in here now as well. So I'll make sure I tackle those questions as we come through. So right now, I'll switch into forward-looking statements. I'm going to make some forward-looking statements right now. They're all part of our plan and our strategy and what we hope to execute on, but there's risk associated, and that's incumbent in the mining space. So I hope people are familiar with that. The real reason we're all here is because New Zealand is an amazing place to be right now. I'm just waiting for the slides to catch up here. I'm still seeing slide number push. Hopefully you can see the New Zealand is open for business slide right now. But really what we're looking for is New Zealand is an emerging, thank you very much. New Zealand is an emerging jurisdiction for mining. Right now, New Zealand just scored this year on the Fraser Index the best country to invest in for mining in the whole of Oceania, which puts it above Australia. And Australia is a long-known mining jurisdiction. There's been over 40 million ounces of gold taken out of New Zealand. This is not new to them. It just hasn't had that exploration frontier in there because historically permitting was difficult. With this new government, with them planning to double exports in the next 10 years, and that's from mining, they want more mines, they want faster permitting, and so they introduced this 6-month permitting regime. One of the questions I've had through the investors is from the investor base here is how reliable is that fast track permitting process in New Zealand? It was first proposed in the start of 2023. It came into legislation at the start of 2024, so it went through the normal back and forth of drafting and feedback and et cetera that goes through. It's now written into law in January this year. And the first mining company that put in an application to that fast track process was Oceania Gold. And Oceania Gold have an amazing project in the North Island called Wharekirauponga. It's up in the epithermal zone of New Zealand. It's volcanic, it's where the hot springs are. And there's very few of these epithermal gold opportunities left in the world, especially in such an amazing jurisdiction. Wharekirauponga, or WKP as it's often shortened to, is Oceania Gold's biggest development project. It's in the fast track process. They submitted all their documents in April, and in all timelines being respected, it should have a permit in October. But this is a major project. We're talking a 6-kilometer tunnel underground. It's 1.5 million ounces at 18 grams a ton, really high grade gold. And so the government said, look, this is a complex project. We just need an extra couple of months to work on this. So the government have come back and said, okay, sorry, the 6-month time frame is hard on this one. We need 8 months. And so I'll still take a jurisdiction any day of the week that says they're going to permit a mine in 8 months, with the government coming out early and saying we just need another couple of months on this. So it's a real actual being worked through right now. By the end of the year, we're going to see the first fast track mining operation go into construction phase with Wharekirauponga. And while we're on this slide, I'll open up the project's discussion with our North Island asset Glamorgan, which is in yellow. We are adjacent to Wharekirauponga. Our anomaly that we have on surface is less than 3 kilometers away from Wharekirauponga. And we're in a mining jurisdiction in New Zealand that has a whole open pit, the Waihi open pit, which has been operating since 1980. The whole town of Waihi is operating around that open pit. It's a nice mining town of New Zealand. So when people think New Zealand, and they obviously don't, the mining's not the first thing that comes to mind. This is a mining town. This is a group of people that have lived in Waihi for 45 years and have been operating as a mining town for that entire time. So Wharekirauponga is the next leg of that. That's the next generation of mining. Waihi still has another couple of million ounces to go. They've gone from open pit to underground now. So that mine is still operating. And Glamorgan has the potential to be the next major epithermal discovery in New Zealand. And I'm fairly confident of where we sit there, because as I said, the distance between our Wise Ridge prospect, where we've done a lot of surface work to work up that anomaly, is less than 3 kilometers from Wharekirauponga. It's exactly parallel to Wharekirauponga, and it has the same surface features as our neighboring asset there. And we're even more confident about it all because our COO, and I skipped over the management team, but I will come back there. Our COO, Simon Henderson, our geologist that lives down in New Zealand and has lived and breathed rocks in New Zealand all his career, he spent 25 years in this district. He delineated the Waihi open pit when it was still a hill, and he worked there from 1980 all the way to 1995. He left Newmont, who owned Waihi at the time, and he actually staked Wharekirauponga, and he was the discoverer of that anomaly. So we've got not just the ground adjacent to it, we've got the exact geologist that discovered it. And so he's built his geology team around it. He knows these rocks. He spent over 25 years in the Hauraki goldfield looking at this type of epithermal system. And we're about to drill this in November. So a lot of interest and a lot of excitement on our story is people trying to get positioned ahead of our drill program starting in November at Glamorgan. So that's the really exciting upside, the sort of greenfield side of the story. It gets the geos really excited. It really has a lot of blue sky potential. But where I love to get into, and I come from much more of a background of company building and mine building, is our South Island property in Reefton. So I'll touch on Reefton next. And starting at a high level, Reefton is in the northern part of the South Island of New Zealand. This is different altogether. The North Island's all epithermal style mineralization. The South Island is orogenic. So think, for the North Americans closer to home, think what Goldcorp was based out at Red Lake. Think about Fosterville and Southern Cross Gold, all these narrow vein, high grade gold antimony style mineralizations. And that's what we're sitting on at Reefton. But we don't just have one or two sections of Reefton. We've taken over the whole district. And that's the advantage of starting this company back in 2019, when no one's looking at New Zealand. We had the pick of the litter when it came to getting the land packages. So we've got 95% of this Reefton district under our control. And it's called Reef Town because it had an old gold rush there back in the early 1870s all the way to 1930s. There was a gold rush where 2 million ounces was taken out of this district at grades of 10 to 50 grams a ton. So really high grade gold coming out here. It didn't continue because at that time you could only go as deep as sort of 300, 400, 500 meters before these mines would collapse. And so you've got this district with all these historic mines that are now on the screen that only went down maximum 600 or 700 meters. All those yellow bars, they're RUA Gold's property, they're historic mines on RUA Gold's property. The two blue bars is the two pieces, the last 5% of the district that we don't own. And it's worth mentioning that one of those districts, you'll see Oceana Gold operated at Globe Progress. That historic mine generated 400,000 ounces at 12 grams a ton. Oceana Gold came back there in 2005. They actually got another 650,000 ounces out of that open pit, out of that property when they turned it into an open pit. So that Globe Progress has produced 1 million ounces. A different style altogether is the other blue bar, Endurance Mining's Snowy River project. That historic mine was one of the deepest ones. It went down 700 meters. It generated 733,000 ounces down 700 meters, and then it collapsed again because they didn't have the stability that you could have really deep underground mines back in the early 1900s. So what the Endura mining team did, and this is a private Australian group, they've raised 400 million Australian dollars. They've built a decline all the way down to the bottom of that previous mining active mining area, and they drilled from the bottom. They've proven up 800,000 ounces at 23 grams a ton and proven that mineralization in these districts go down to 1,500 meters. So we know there's gold here. We know there's a lot of gold antimony here because we've hit it consecutively. Now it's our job as a management team to prove out a good, decent gold reserve as cheap and as quickly and as economically as possible. And that's what we're doing right now. So I'll give you a quick overview of this is how the Reefton district looks like. It's a town on the edge of mountain ranges. There's active coal mines already in this district. So again, just like Waihi, an active mining town of New Zealand, we're going to the South Island on the west coast. I'm going to be down there in a couple of weeks. There's the West Coast Mineral Forum where all the mining companies go to in New Zealand. And this is a very active mining area. We can see coal mines on the edge. The town of Reefton is supported by coal mining. And that Globe Progress open pit is right there in the middle of the picture. So we've got a very active mining town. Right in the middle of the picture is Old Creek. That is one of our key focus points of Reefton right now. And that's where you'll hear me talk about our transition from explorer to development. And this is where I'll put my forward-looking statements on again. We've got to execute on a number of activities. And namely, we've identified to the market a 4,000 meter drill program, which is underway. And this blue pit shell that you're seeing here is where we're planning to drill. We've already got a resource of 110,000 ounces at 5 grams a ton at Old Creek. And we just picked that up because we had to do a 43-101 on this property. We're not shouting from the hilltops about 100,000 ounces. What we're doing now is extending that because that's about 200 meters by 150 meters. We've now extended that resource down to 300 meters. And on the left, you'll see we've extended it on surface another 270 meters. So now we've tripled the surface extension. We've doubled the depth on it. And this thing has 2.5 kilometers of surface anomaly that we're chasing. So we're still just at the outset of it. But our strategy as a management team is to take advantage of New Zealand's good permitting, to take advantage of this amazing bull run of the gold price, and to take advantage of the fact that we're a gold antimony type deposit here. And the whole world is screaming for antimony as a critical metal in short supply right now. And we have the jurisdiction that has a 6-month permitting timeframe. So we're focused. We've got 2 drill rigs turning on Old Creek. We're going to keep them turning. We're going to prove out a resource. We plan to refresh that resource and have a 43-101 compliant resource by the end of the year, which will see us go towards the next phase into the development stage. I see a couple of questions coming in here as I go through this. One of them is after the 4,000 meter at Old Creek, we're going to keep the drill rigs turning. That's correct. We're not just looking for, call it 300,000 to 500,000 ounces at Old Creek. We want to keep building out this as our starter mine. So We think, and again, putting all the thinks and predictions, and we need the drill success, but we think there is 1 million ounces at Old Creek at least on what we see now. It's still open along strike. It's still open at depth. And so we'll keep drilling while we start the study phase. We're a team, and again, I'm sorry I skipped over the management team, but we'll come back there. We're a team of mine builders. So we're doing things concurrently. We're drilling out our resource while we start the study process. We know where our environmental footprint will be, so we can get ahead of that and make sure that we're definitely going to be ready for the fast track process by 2026, which is our plan. There's a third rig continually moving around Reefton, looking at the gold prospect. So right now it's drilling at a target called Caledonia. We've hit the structure there. We've got assays awaiting at the labs. But when we go back to that picture of the district, we've got a huge amount of prospectivity to cover here. We know that there's a lot of gold left in this district. It hasn't been mined at depth. And so we've got a third rig still looking for that second feeder into a potential future plant, because we want to execute on the hub and spoke model. We want multiple underground mines feeding one central mill here. So that's what we're planning to execute. We will have a fourth rig, just closing off that question, we will have a fourth rig when we start in Glamorgan. And with our current treasury we've got enough burn rate with 4 rigs going all the way through to September next year before we need to worry about raising or diluting or anything like that. So we're at a very good treasury position to deliver a lot of catalysts to the market. One other question of when we're planning to start production and is the timeline achievable? We have a very ambitious timeline where we want to enter that 6-month permitting next year in 2026. We want to be permitted by the start of 2027 and start production by the end of 2027, which sounds really quick, but at the end of the day, this is really high-grade material. The capex on these things is a small footprint. We're talking 250,000 tons per annum, quite a small plant in the grand scheme of mining. The cost of such a thing is around 100 million US. And so it's a very bite size for our size company. And so it is an achievable timeline, but a lot of everything has to come into play. The fast track needs to work in our favor, which I think it will, again, especially with the antimony on our side. The other thing I'll mention, I just got a question here, is what do we do with our neighbor Endura, and is there a deal to be done with Endura? It's worth mentioning, Snowy River is the mine we're talking about there. Endura Mining is the private Australian company that runs it. They are fully permitted. They've raised their 400 million, or they've already spent 200 of the 4. They've got another 200 million committed from Orion Finance Partners and other groups, and they'll be going into production December next year. So they've got first gold anticipated end of next year. We really love to see activity in the area, and yep, there's a lot of synergies that could come together if we join, but that's all sort of a matter of time and seeing how it unfolds. While we're a 100 million market cap or a 70 million market cap, it's a big value differentiator to talk about doing a deal with them, considering we have the whole district. I've just got a couple of minutes left, so I'll answer any of the other questions, and happy to take follow-up meetings with anyone that I've missed here. But I do want to touch on the team, because the team is a very crucial part of this. I mean, myself, I'm coming out of Aris Mining, which is now over a $2 billion company. It's the biggest gold producer in Colombia. And we started that with nothing in 2020, and we went through a buy and build strategy. Oliver Lennox-King, our chairman, he's just come out of Roxgold most recently in 2021. He sold that to Fortuna for over $1 billion. And prior to that, he sold Frontier Gold and Nevada exploration play for over $2 billion. So we've built companies, we've built mines. There's been 8 mines under our control that have been built on time, on budget. And we have a team that are all about building a company rather than just drilling and hoping for success. So we've got a team of people that know how to build companies. And our cap structure is really important, because even in the last 12 months, we've actually put $4 million hard dollars into this company through the capital raises on the market. We own 20% of this company, and our average cost base is in the 70 to 75 cent range in Canadian dollar terms. So we're heavily invested in this. We're aligned with any shareholders coming into it. And sticky money is all here. We've only got a 20% retail float. We've got high net worths and institutions in this for 45%. And these guys want to see us coming in and delivering on what we're promising to deliver. They're not here to make a trade. They're not here to sell at a 20% gain. They're here to see us build the next mine in New Zealand. And they're in this because we've done this before. We've had success. We've had serial success in the gold mining space, and now we're ready to do it again, very much focused on New Zealand. So I'll just jump through a couple of the other questions here just while I've got time. I think we've talked about the management ownership and insiders, and so very aligned on the shareholder front there. The management plan to leverage the relationship and expertise on the fast track permitting. So I'm going to be meeting the ministers next Monday to talk about where we are as RUA Gold and what we're doing in New Zealand. So it's very rare for a company of our, as you can see on the screen, Canadian market cap of 60 or 70 million Canadian. I have a direct line to the mines minister and the conservation minister in New Zealand, which is very advantageous. And we want to be good custodians. We want to make sure we're within all the guardrails in New Zealand, but we're going to be taking advantage of the fast permitting in New Zealand, which is really exciting. Question on the upcoming milestones, just to put it in a succinct answer, in the next 6 to 12 months. Reefton, resource refresh at the end of the year. More drills, more drilling ongoing right now. So we'll have drilling updates from both the one rig that's looking at these high-grade Caledonia shoots. We'll have more drill updates on the Old Creek step-out drilling, building out that resource, and then look for a resource refresh at the end of the year. And then we'll be in the study phase. So a lot of catalysts coming in Reefton. And then in the Glamorgan project on the North Island, this is, as I said, one of the few undrilled epithermals in First World today. So we've got a greenfield zone, but it has the exact same surface features and it runs parallel to the neighbor. And so we've got really exciting catalysts coming from the drill bit on the North Island. Current treasury position sitting in just over 11 million Canadian today, and we don't need to raise money. We've got a lot of catalysts coming in, and we want to deliver that to our shareholders and our supporters that have been with us along the way here. I think that more or less covers a lot of the questions. Sorry if I've missed any, and again, happy to take one-on-one meetings after this. I've got a fairly good schedule for the upcoming days between myself and the team. And I'll just leave on this, that really what you've got here in front of you is a team that has delivered to shareholders before, that has built mines, built companies, and we're not just here for the quick pump of an exploration story. We're very focused in New Zealand. That's all we're looking at right now. I'm a Kiwi. I was born there. I've still got family there. I love to get back down there. It's a great place to do work. And we've been in gold. I've been in gold now for most of my career. I started in copper and now into gold. Oliver, as you've seen, has been in gold for over 40 years. We've been expecting this bull run for a long time, and now we're here to take advantage of it. And we've built mines. New Zealand wants more mines, and the market is ready. So I encourage everyone to keep following along, look out for all the catalysts coming ahead, and look out for the next New Zealand gold producer coming your way. Thank you very much.